Well, hello folks, I'd like to do a super short video, and it's pretty much in response to a question that came in here from John. It's regarding our members system, and we have a tutorial series on this that I had covered. And John asks, is this how somebody might go fetching members data and pass it into the view file? Now the short answer is, looks good to me. Yep, and well done John, it looks absolutely fine. However, I think that this is a really good question, and it raises a couple of issues that I'd like to bring to your attention. So the short answer is, well done, it's fantastic, but I really do want to take this apart, if that's okay, and see if we can come up with something even better. So let's remind ourselves of what is being spoken about here. We have a login system. It goes like this. This was all covered in the previous tutorial, and this takes us to a private members area, right? So what John wants to do here is have the members details, let's say for example the username, displaying inside the view file here, and I had not covered that in the tutorial, shame on me. So let's have a look at John's suggestion. Now what he's doing here is he's loading up Trongate security. That's fantastic. Then he's getting a token from Trongate security and passing in a scenario of members area. That's fantastic. That's exactly what was covered in the tutorial series, and in fact, let's bring this to life. So I'm going to go to this members controller file, and this is exactly and precisely what John has done. But he's gone a little bit further here. He's then said that token object is Trongate tokens fetch token object. Now remember, his goal is to get the username, right? So he's saying, right, well, if we get this token object, and you can see that he's commented out a little JSON thing, and that's cool. So he's looking at the token object like this. So if we refresh, this is what we've got. And of course, how does this work? Well, it selects everything from a table by the name of Trongate tokens. That's how that's working there, right? So he's doing that so that he can get this user ID. This is actually a Trongate user ID. And then he's saying, okay, so the user ID is the result of that, and it's the user ID property. But then he's querying the members table. You'll remember that we do have a members table here, and it's got a column called Trongate user ID. So here he's querying the members table like this. We don't really need this anymore, and that's giving us a member object. Now again, we can JSON the member object, have a little look at it, and it looks like this. And you can see that we've got a username here. So from here, he's really just saying that, now let's look at his code here. Yeah, it's perfect. He's saying right around here that data username is member object loading up username. So that means that the username is now being passed into the view file. Let's open up the view file. It's members home. Pardon my phone. I'm going to do an H1 here, and I'm going to say hello. And now you can go like that, hello username. And you can see it says hello Arthur, so job done. However, I'm now recommending using this out function that comes with the framework. Some of you will know that in the world of web development, it's very normal to see code that looks like this, where people use handlebars and stuff like that. Templating engines. We don't do that, but we do have a function called the out function, and what it does is it basically escapes the output. So that's a fancy way of saying that if somebody has, now let's just say data username equals, and I'm going to go like this, script alert. Let's just do something crazy. Dangerous, right? So I'm adding in this dangerous code here. I'll say that the username is Harry, right? So what happens here? Well, if we don't use this out feature, you can potentially run into problems like this. Do you see how I've just invoked JavaScript? So you can get all sorts of problems, but by using the out, it's actually just a function, then now we've made the page safe. So I'm recommending using this, and you're going to see this in all of my tutorials moving forward. Okay, so that's fair enough. The question is, can we make this even better? Because if we open up the model file here and change debug to true, you'll see that in order for this page to display, we're doing 3 separate database queries, and it just seems a little bit excessive. So here's what I'm going to suggest to you. Let's open up the Trongate desktop app, and through the power of table joins, we're going to make this page even more efficient. So I'm going to modify existing app, and we're modifying the Club DC app here. At least that's what I've called it. I'm going to open up the query builder. Okay, so here's the query builder, and we are interested in getting a username from the members table. So let's drag members into here. And of course, we do have a Trongate users table and a Trongate tokens table. Now what we could do is we could connect the Trongate user ID here with this ID here, and this is going to be an inner join, right? So it's an inner join. Then we could take the ID column from Trongate users, click, and choose user ID here, and we'll do another inner join. Okay, so we've joined these tables. Now keep in mind, the thing that we're interested in is the username, so I'm going to click here. There we go, you can see that that's been ticked. And then I'm going to click Show SQL. And you can see that it's giving us the pure code, the query that is required for this table join. Table joins are usually really difficult, but this graphical query builder that you get free of charge with Trongate, it really makes this stuff easy. So let's copy this SQL. Okay. Now, I'll say index John, if that's okay. That's going to be John's one, right? Let's make a new one. We'll make it a little bit more efficient. So sure enough, we'll say this module, Trongate security. We're going to say token is this Trongate security. It's make sure allowed in the scenario is members area. So that's going to give us our token. But now I'm going to say SQL equals, and I'm going to paste in that big old SQL query like that. Let's have a little tab here. Okay, excellent. Now, remember, we have a token. So let's say down here, select all of that, where, and I'm going to say Trongate tokens.token equals, and it's going to be a colon token. Now the reason why I'm doing a colon token is because I am a responsible developer, and we're not going to build something that people can hack. We are going to be using query binding. So let's make up a little params array. I'm going to say params token equals the token, and now we're going to do query binding. So this query here is attempting to return some rows. So I'm going to say that rows equals this, calling upon the model, and we're going to say query bind. Now to make query binding work, we pass in the SQL, pass in the params, and we're going to have an array of items back. But what would you like each record to be represented as? I'm going to say object. Alright, so there we go. We've done a table join. We've made it perfectly safe. We're using query binding. We're doing everything right. And now we're going to say data username equals rows. Now it's the first row, so I'm going to say rows 0, loading up username like this. Then I'm going to simply say data view file equals, now the view file is called members home, and then I'm going to load up a template. It's going to be the members area template, and I'm going to pass in the data and save it. Now I'll put this debug off. Let's just save and refresh, and look at that, the page works fantastically well. But the difference is this time, if we debug, we're getting the same page, but this time with only 2 queries. So I hope that has answered your question, John, and given you some idea as to how I would be fetching members details and passing them into the view file. Now, just a couple of points before we finish. This does have 2 queries, and some of you are thinking, well, can't we even have just 1 query? Yes, you can. If you're lucky enough to be looking after a website that's really, really popular, like Facebook levels, then absolutely you can use our table join tool here and have this working with just 1 query. Personally speaking though, I have never worked on a website anywhere near popular enough to warrant that type of thing. What we've got here is certainly going to be more than satisfactory for 99.9% of use cases. And finally, real quick, just to let you know, if I was building something like this, take for example the Trongate help bar, and this gets used by quite a lot of people, and you can see that there's lots of usernames and member details and whatnot. Well, for something like that, I wouldn't want to be having to add this query and all of this stuff every single time I had a page that was like this. So the way that I built this thing is something like this. Now, this is not exact, but I would have made a little method here called getMemberObject, and you can see that this has an optional token. You can pause the screen if you want to really have a look. And basically what it does is it takes that query that we just did, but now I'm saying select members.all, and I'm also returning the Trongate token, like so, and it's returning a member object. So the benefit of this is that now I can simply say, okay, let's get the token and let's get the member object. And so it's a lot more compact and reusable. So that, in case you're wondering, is how this was all made. Anyway, I don't want you to feel as if you have to copy this line for line. I think that the best approach is for you to make the decision as to what you think is appropriate for the thing that you are building. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you very much indeed for being here, and I'll see you soon.